if I'm ready or not.
And it doesn't matter. He'll just talk anyway. It's just easier.
Fair enough.
Okay. Well, thank you for those kind words at the beginning of the stream there. This part of the stream is always filler because we're waiting for the pings to go off on various different channels, and of course for people to speed to my channel, which they're all subscribed to, of course. Wait for the inevitable adverts, and then actually listen to what we've got to say. So I think me saying all that means now that I can introduce my guests, or co-host, I should say. So the first co-host, of course, is Core Knight. Say hello.
Morning. Hello.
But now we're welcoming a very special guest, fresh from the Astrogranite, where he's won himself the overall championship of the OCC. Our friend, your friend, everyone's friend, apart from perhaps Spiders, MB Carmack, brackets Carmack. Say hello.
Hello.
How you feeling?
Perfectly normal. Same as any other day.
Okay, so nothing's changed. You're not wearing that helmet you're given when you win the OCC.
Do you get a helmet?
You don't have the helmet.
I'm completely confused right now.
Okay, well, I'll have to talk to, I'll have to talk to Pitbad then, because you're usually given the helmet, the cloak that you get. You don't have any of those things.
Is that like a thing you get on your forum profile or what?
Oh, he's not actually won it yet. He's got a week left before.
Oh yeah, I suppose it might be given at the end, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And how was the ceremony last night?
Just flogging a dead horse.
Oh, flogging a dead horse. Okay, well, Carmack won, but he doesn't seem too bothered. Do you want to talk about your season? This is the worst interview I've ever done in my entire life, so I'll start properly. So, Carmack, congratulations. Genuinely, congratulations for winning the OCC. No small achievement. We should add, I guess, first of all, for the statos, how long it's been since you entered the OCC with this team. So how many seasons has it taken you to get to the top, if you can remember?
Oh, I have no idea.
Honestly, no idea. Is it more than 3, 4, 10?
Oh, for sure. For sure more than 3. I mean, I've spent 3 or 4 seasons in Champions Division. Yeah, and I've progressed fairly quickly, so I'd say 6, 7 seasons, maybe. I don't know. Something like that.
I mean, the team's played 150 games.
Yeah, so it's taken 150 games to get there. I should have asked beforehand, of course, but famously everything's last minute here. So I can't remember, Core Knight, when the last Chaos winner was of the OCC.
Could it have been?
But I think it was even in
the stage
BB1, not
no.
BB2.
Sorry, the stage played Wood Elves in Blood Bowl. Never mind.
There's definitely a Chaos winner of Blood Bowl 2. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I could just bring your team up now for the viewers. This is the glorious team, and as Core Knight correctly identifies, your stats coming into it a nice and tidy 76, 29, 47, which is great. But again, a lot of games, which is fine because it's Chaos, so they need time to develop. Did you dedicate perhaps the win to Tina?
No, but I miss Clueless Tina. However, stupid Adrian is
he's coming along.
Probably going to.
I mean, he's
yeah.
We're going to do the fantasy football shortly, but yeah, he's scored some points this week, shall we say? So he's.
I like the idea that Kinross said that maybe having a full-on killer was bloaty, and that just having a smattering of Mighty Blow everywhere might actually be more effective. Like generally, people put a lot of trust in Claw Mighty Blow, but
I don't necessarily like. This is I've mentioned this before on the show. If you have a killer, it's a little bit the same effect as if you have wizard. People have to adjust their positioning because the killer is nearby and all of these things. So the fear of the killer is sometimes just as powerful as the killer himself. In the case of Clueless Tina herself. So it's always like it's never bad to have a killer. It's don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Have I arrived just in time for Carmack's victory parade?
Yes.
Hey, Danton.
Hello, Danton. Thank you
Hello.
for joining us.
Danton, I'll just say you based on that one picture of you I saw you look nothing like your voice would, suggest.
We'll let you, Danton, interpret whether that's a good or a bad
Yeah,
thing.
I'm trying to figure out if that is a compliment or if he's slagging me off. But yeah,
Well,
okay.
Why does it have to be so binary all the time?
I mean, but basically, what the image you instantly get when you hear an Irish accent is of a redhead
God.
with pale skin and whatever, and yeah,
I'm half Argentine, for God's sake.
yeah, but that doesn't come across in your accent, does it?
No.
Do you speak?
Not
Do you speak Spanish
Yeah.
with an Irish accent?
no.
Say something in
I speak-
Spanish.
¿Qué querés que te diga? Was that enough? Not
How
really.
about something more elaborate than that?
A
Tell
ver,
Cornlight what you really think of him in Spanish.
what I really think of Carmack. Carmack cree que juega bien este juego, pero la verdad que no tiene la menor idea de lo que está haciendo.
Okay.
Sounded
I don't know what
Spanish
you
to
don't
me.
need to. It sounded nice.
I think he said
I
something nice.
basically said Carmack thinks he's quite good at this game, but he hasn't got a clue.
Yeah. Well, we were just as before you rudely interrupted Danton. Carmack was just talking through his team. Hello, Dreamland. Have confirmed was Spanish, says Dreamland, which is nice.
Do you want to hear my Spanish,
Yes.
Danton?
Is it just a torrent of swear words?
Is it just Ole?
No, it's tu madre no debería cambiar su pintalabios muy a menudo porque yo tengo un arcoíris en la polla.
There we go.
Nice woman. Yeah, you can work on the accent a bit, but I got the meaning.
Well, let's keep the meaning for a private Discord chat maybe
Private
because
Discord
it's
chat. Yeah, we can subtitle it later, I'm sure. If Cornlight, you'll get right on that, won't you?
and that's all I can say in Spanish, by the way. That's no joke.
That's it. I'm just trying to figure out, why that would be the only thing you could say.
Should we be worried that this is going to cause the channel to get cancelled? All I got was Madre.
Madre.
says,
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it definitely had to do with your mother.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, okay. Jesus. Okay, anyway, Carmack, back to your team. So Tina's gone. Long may she remain in pieces. I think everyone on this call, I think, has had a go at Tina at some point, but she survived, and it was only Kinroth who eventually killed her.
A trash can-hearted Kinroth.
Yeah, trash
Yeah.
can.
Actually, but by the time I think I played Carmack twice, but Tina was already long gone. I think by the time I got to play this team.
Okay, so
yeah.
are you trying to say, Danton, if that she had been still around, then you would have ended her career, all her?
I mean,
believe
I
Armour
certainly,
7,
I,
she was at the end,
I
I think.
certainly would have tried.
Yeah.
I think most people would have.
I mean,
She would have killed Brian the Fecker. So you're lucky.
as
Right.
Norse coach, I fully approve of all claw on all teams, and I'm happy for there to be more and more of it. So I tend to go more for the mighty blow piling on players than the claw problems particularly.
Yeah, I mean, there's some maths there, isn't there, somewhere that says probably Mighty's better than Claw quite a lot of the time. But a smattering of Claw is useful, and Carmack, indeed, you do have a smattering of Claw on two of your, admittedly, movement 4, but some of your players there. I mean, I don't know what you're doing with this team. Are you going to defend your championship? What's your plan in that regard?
I plan to play one more season for sure. So
Okay. So, I mean, would you be developing... I mean, Dishonest Shell is, leveled up. Mighty Blow for her, or are you going to pick something perhaps a bit less aggressive?
Another dirty player to replace the one that you heartlessly fired seconds before Spider's game.
I don't know. This player rolled a double, so maybe it's dodge. I don't know yet.
Jump up, maybe, for the full stack?
Oh, jump up! Jump up's so annoying if you're elf. Of course, after jump up, I'd have to develop block, mighty blow, and other things. But
Yeah, the
Nah,
problem is it
jump
just
up is probably
takes too long to get.
Yeah,
you know,
jump up-
skills to
Jump
go
up as the
with it.
first choice is a bold move, but you're
Yeah.
that kind of guy, Carmack. So you know,
like stupid Adrian. If stupid Adrian will jump up, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, all day. Yeah,
but otherwise
Um,
maybe not.
You'd think about it, but I don't know. I mean, the problem is, it's until he gets to piling on. I mean, it's still a long way to go.
Yeah,
but movement 6 though, you know, from the ground, it's pretty good.
It's not that good.
It's not that good, but it's a
I mean,
choice.
basically,
I mean-
you're banking on being knocked over until you've got skills to put you on the ground to complement it, right?
Is that not a good tactic, Cornite? You're suggesting? No,
No, I'm suggesting that's a terrible idea.
right?
I mean, if it's a piece that has wrestle, for example, already, then it's kind of slightly less bad because the piece is often going to the ground because you want it to. And there it has a little bit more synergy. I mean, if you've already got piling on, then definitely. Otherwise, it's a big long-term investment.
Yeah, it is. Okay, right. Let's get to
I mean,
table then.
yeah, some would argue that dodge would be as well. So maybe just picking a normal skill on the.
I mean, you've already got that really good, dodge. It's got dodge, isn't it? The two heads ball carrier.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
no
it's
dodge.
four.
Oh no, dodge.
Oh, it
actually,
doesn't have
no.
dodge. Okay, well, but it's edge for two heads. I mean, so it's already your like go-to ball carrying piece.
I'm actually thinking. I mean, that piece will die sooner or later. So having something
Yeah.
half developed
Yeah.
to carry the ball later on
Yeah, I mean,
might
sure-
not be a
True.
dumb
I mean,
idea.
sure hands might
Plus-
not be a bad choice. If you wanted to.
Plus, if you do go dodge on the new go, you could start using that as your ball carrier just to get it quickly up to say block or short hands, and it can act as like your your bulk bitch, as it were, just to avoid your nice piece getting wizarded.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I try not to use the ball carrying guy to carry the ball because it just doesn't progress the team terribly much these days.
Yeah.
And it's very good. Usually, it's really nice to use that guy kind of as the potato option, just very solid handoff option, and then you just run. So it's better to have that guy more forward, and the guy with the ball who's protected anyway in the back, just in case the fresh goat can't score. Hand the ball off to the beastman. Boom, there's a score, and it's all good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Dreamland saying the champs is going to be full of elf teams next season, so
Yeah, a lot
it's
of elves going up.
worth thinking about that in terms of skill ups.
Russell, then.
Yeah, could be a choice. Okay, the last thing, obviously you are crown champion now, but we've got 1 week left to go.
I want to say thank you to a couple of people.
yeah,
I've
of
already
course.
said that.
Go ahead. This is
But,
your forum.
Cornite here
Apart from
spent a bunch of time with me. He created a copy of Andy Dero's team, and we sparred a number of times. And he told me where my shit stank, so to say, and when it comes to my plans. And it's greatly increased my comfort level of playing Andy, and I was much calmer than I would have been otherwise. And it helped a lot. So thanks very much, Cornite, for the third or fourth time already, but still.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm getting used to saying that there's no issue. I was happy to do it. It was fun. That's what I did. So I learned from that as well. It was good practice for me too.
He's got nothing better to do.
this is also true, and I was going to say, Cornite, is this a new service that you're going to offer to people?
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. Like, I do think it improves my Blood Bowl playing as well. Talking through it with Carmack. So,
No, I mean,
I think I should do more.
Yeah,
Practice
actually, it's a good point. That's kind of training format where you're both like, on voice comms. It can be very, very beneficial for both.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, to be honest. It's you get a mediocre coach to play the other team, Carmack, and then you can practice against them. I don't mean that at all, obviously, because that wouldn't be any benefit. But yeah, I mean, training for your games in the champs, I think is a great idea because the stakes are so high. I'd be surprised if it hadn't happened up to now, to be honest.
So what I actually do
is just public.
What I actually do for games is this season and all of last season as well. I have a little table that just compares the two teams based on how many very strong players they have, how many strong players, Mighty Blow, Claw Guard, block, mobility, and dodge and tackle. And I highlight where I have an advantage, where I have a disadvantage, and it actually dictates what kind of... That table alone already informs how you would want to approach the game based on the contrast, based on the lack of symmetry.
Sure.
Where normally you'd think in an archetype, okay, Chaos versus Chorf, this is how I should play, but these stats actually pull out some details that you might have missed on just a random eye test, and then that helps. Then I copy the other team and try, opening setups, and do I want to apply pressure? Do I want to back off? What do I want to do? And that's what we did with Cornite in that exercise. But I did that exercise for literally every game of the season and the previous season, except most of the time I wasn't, playing with a human being. I was playing against myself.
Yeah, sure.
And the other person to thank, if Andy Davo, I have to thank him because I took his coaching and it really paid off. It was really worth it, especially for somebody that works and doesn't have the time to, learn from his own mistakes. It really, really helped elevate me to a higher standard of a player. So I highly recommend that, especially for people that don't have tabletop friends, because over tabletop you're going to talk about the game the whole day. I don't have any of that, so these were really things that really helped me, and obviously luck, because I was lucky in a couple of games as well.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, we spoke a little bit off air, didn't we? Saying that it is a dice game, but I think positioning wins games more than dice. So, yeah, I mean, it is luck. Sometimes you get a good roll. A 50-50 can obviously go either way, but having the position to have the chance of the 50-50 is more important than the actual 50-50, if that makes sense. I mean, that kind of what you said there as well, Carmack, raised an interesting question. I mean, how long have you been playing Blood Bowl professionally for?
I started in the US when I was living in the US. So when was that? Probably, 5 years ago, something like that. 5 or 6 years ago, I won a small league over there. Then when I moved back to Europe, I joined Rebel and OCC and played there. Then at some point I hit a plateau. I couldn't get out of it, and then I got Andy to work on me a little bit, and then finally winning something.
And is this your first major? I think it is, right?
Yeah. Unless you count the Windy City Warmonger League in the US as a major title, which I'm sure you guys haven't heard of that yet.
Yeah, I'm aware of Windy City.
I've heard of Windy City, of course, but they're a league, aren't they? I think that's all I know.
Spider part of it as well.
It could have been. Obviously, they're based out of Chicago, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean, again, there was a whole VOD about it. There wasn't there from PC about training and whether it's worth it or not. But I think, Carmack, if you don't mind me saying this, but I think putting the training in, putting the time in, hey presto, it makes your game better, right? Instead of just playing once a week, you're properly analysing games, looking at your opponent's strengths and weaknesses compared to your own. I mean, it's kind of like if you had a recipe to win the OCC or indeed any champs that's a long format league. I mean, that's the way you do it, right? I mean Danton, Cornite, what do you think?
It's not just Blood Bowl, is it? It's if you want to do well in any sport, of any kind or any competition, you need to train. You need to focus on what your problems are and improve those problems. And training is actually usually the most effective way of doing that. Just going through and playing like 4,000 games doesn't teach you as much as
No, absolutely not.
targeted training. And like argue about whether if you want to pay for it, that's and you have the money to. I think that's fine. And as preferably if the trainer is actually this is there are lots of people who have offered training that doesn't necessarily make them good trainers, right? But there are an increasing number of people who've said Andy is good at teaching them Blood Bowl, so I think that's really good.
Yeah, I think he's a good coach, but he obviously has got a good method, right, Carmack? I mean, he really helped you in the sessions. I mean, I'm not a shill for Andy by any means, but what he offers is worthwhile, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, the very first time I came in, I said where I thought I was struggling, where I thought I was good at, where I thought I was struggling. He gave me some basics of how to approach a turn in a structured form. So, for example, like the first question, is the ball safe? Second is, where's the blitz? And things like that. So to structure your thinking around it, to give it, to eliminate improvisation as where you don't need it, right? And just being prepared for games overall. He trained me once for one game specifically, where he basically we spent maybe a half hour figuring out the starting setup for the team, and it was absolutely mind-blowing to me how the game evolved 100% exactly as predicted when we worked on it. 100% the game. You'd think there's so much randomness in the game and all of these things, but the game actually wasn't played. It played out completely according to the plan. And you have no idea how helpful that could be, because it just frees up your mind to not think of the basics, but you think of the higher strategy and some other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw an entire drive of 8 turns unfold just as I had trained it, which was so eye-opening to me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yeah, for a supposedly random game, there's a lot of games play out in a very similar way.
Yeah.
An opponent, most opponents are trying to get the same thing. So if you get early control, it's interesting.
And if you know what's going to happen, if you dictate what's going to happen, you control the game and you make the critical decisions, and then the opponent adapts to you, which is a gigantic advantage. Which is why I spend a bunch of time actually trying to figure out the best possible setup for the match. Because it really makes a difference. It really does help.
Yeah, I hate it when I face someone and they set up badly, and you just know I feel like that's the start. That's the starting point of every drive, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
There's a bunch of rules that everyone kind of knows about and should be aware of, and they should follow.
Yeah, but sometimes that works in the opposite way that you'd expect. Sometimes a terrible setup, can throw you off. And I mean, like for example, when a new player, they're defending and they put like their whole team on the line, which is a terrible thing to do. But it can sometimes actually sort of work out in their favor.
Yeah, it can cause a headache sometimes, can't it? If they
it can. Yeah, you end up rolling up a bunch of both downs and pushes, and suddenly you're in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been there so many times in Cole, because again in Cole you play newer players, so I shouldn't replay there because I don't learn anything really about improving my game. But yeah, they set up like that, and then you think, well, okay, I can take the hits here, and then you get both down or something goes wrong basically, and then it turns out that setup 9 times out of 10 is going to be terrible, but in this 1 time out of 10 through bit of luck perhaps, then you're the one reacting all the time for the rest of the game rather than leading on.
You say that, but actually it's a pretty common Norse tabletop tactic to set up a lot of players on the LOS. and just let your opponent punch you and hope for the both downs. and it works. If you're giving someone 12 blocks,
Yeah, that many dice,
they're going to roll a 1 in 9.
you're going to get it, aren't you? Eventually, yeah.
I mean, but it's basically a coin flip strategy, isn't it? I mean, if it works, then yay. But on the other side, if they're both rolling a bunch of yellows, suddenly you could be like half a team down.
I mean, the idea of coin flip strategy and Norse is kind of already there. But yeah, I wasn't saying it was a good one. I was just saying, and it's interesting.
It is one.
That it is one, yeah, and that also that putting players on the LOS is particularly bad against a team with lots of block, whereas it's a lot less bad against a team with no block.
Yeah. But again, isn't the half the battle of a more advanced Blood Bowl play is knowing when to throw the what we all know as the rules out the window, right? And then doing what your opponent least expects sometimes, perhaps. Or
I mean, there's definitely psychological warfare, especially the better you get and the better your opponents are, then I think the more important the psychological aspect gets, because both players know the basics, they know some in-depth strategies, but it's the little kind of things to throw them off that can make the difference.
I want to give an example because it happened this week and it was really funny, and I think it's really funny. I spun into Gdanik's Wood Elves with my Pro Elves in CCL this week. His Wood Elves are 2,100 TV. My Pro Elves are like 400 TV lower, so I was in a massive disadvantage. So I decided to surprise him by dackering on my offense, which I think is in hindsight is probably insane and wrong, but it caused a bit of confusion. It wasn't what the Woodies were expecting to have to deal with. It is definitely not a good tactic. It's definitely not the right thing to do. But it got me a few turns for not being punched as well, which was worth it.
And then imagine, some of you might have played against Crystal Hunter, where you just know that there may be. I saw your game against Crystal Hunter actually on his stream. Well, there may be something that he pulls completely out of his ass that no other player would have thought about, and you get psyched out by it completely, by the possibility of it, not just by him doing something, but the very possibility of that happening is already an advantage for the opponent if he's got that reputation, and if you're aware enough of it, it can be a disadvantage to play against a player like that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Absolutely. What I wanted to do about 10 minutes ago, but I think that was a good chat there, was just for you, Carmack, if you can remember any of the games that you played this season. I've got the ones up that you have played to date. Which ones you found particularly tricky, or if there's any key moments you think in any of these games? Or in the same way, if you can't remember anything, then that's fine.
Two games I would say were key. I'd say, and I mean, in a couple of games I got lucky or slightly unlucky, whatever. I mean, this happens. But when I played Andy, I had the choice of, hey, his team is wrecked, and I'll take a safe tie, and hope that the fact that his team is wrecked will make it easy for him to drop points, but he's not very good at dropping points, is he now? So I decided, fuck it, this is the time to get lucky, and I decided to score and turn him over and win the game, and with Nuffle's blessing I did. His Strength 4 War Dancer was knocked out and failed to wake up on two kickoff.
Right.
That's on two massive. Kickoffs.
That's massive, isn't it?
And that was, and I honestly thought, okay, well, I'm going for the championship here. I need this risk. I need to take this risk. And I took the risk, and it paid off. So that was very, very, very big. And the other one was actually Hawkster, where it was 1-1, and I wanted to win the game, and I actually potatoed on a 13% play, which worked out, and then he snaked the GFI, either he snaked the GFI or he didn't have rerolls. But anyway, his Saurus fell over, and I was able to run away with the ball and score. He did a really, really good job in the second drive, in the second half, to put pressure on me. So I needed to, if I recall correctly, I needed to dodge away cleanly on a 2+, pass on a 3+, I think, catch on a 4+, dodge away on a 3+, and roll 2 GFIs. And I rolled all of it clean without using a reroll.
Beautiful.
And that gave me the win there. These, I think, were the moments where I needed the luck, and I got lucky this season. Everything else I don't think was terribly outside of the range of a usual game with, your usual medium-sized, lucky and medium-sized unlucky events at times.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's great. Anything else you want to go on? Sorry, Cor. Or anything else, guys? You want to ask?
I was laughing at General Atimo's comment. You're in
Yeah,
trouble with
I've
everything, Ethel. Don't blame Cole for that.
I know. I've ignored that because he's very unkind, General Atimo. Even though I think I've beaten him more times than he's beaten me. But there you go. Anything, guys? You want to ask our newly crowned champion at all?
Are you now officially a Bash coach?
Ha!
That's an interesting question. Would a Bash coach fire a dirty player ahead of the deciding game?
Yeah, because it's, they're shenanigans, dirty tricks. That's more of a Bash coach mentality, surely.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, in that case, I fit the definition very well, and I'll take it as a
No,
compliment.
I mean, obviously very tongue-in-cheek, but, you did define yourself as a kind of a Wood Elf coach, or up until quite recently. But
Well,
I'm sure you like to play different races and mix it up a bit. But I mean, having played this much Chaos, do you find yourself almost more comfortable now playing Bash than Agile, or do you still like kind of both dimensions?
So my approach to the game is that removals are a bonus. They're not, they're an amazing bonus. But if you need removals to win, then there's something wrong with your gameplay.
Or you're a Nurgle coach?
I mean, to be fair, he still played twice as many Wood Elf games as Chaos games, right?
But I feel more comfortable playing Chaos these days just because they are less swingy. Wood Elves can be extremely easy at times, and then they can snowball the other way so badly that it's horrible. And I don't like that swing. It feels random to me. So this team that we're staring at is probably the steadiest team that I remember having.
You like the consistency?
Yeah, I like the consistency. That's the reason I fired the. That's the reason I fired the dirty player yesterday ahead of the game, so I could have the opportunity to buy an inducement, and I bought myself a Babe. Mm-hmm. Just because I thought the Babe would take randomness out of the game, or has the potential to take randomness out of the game. So if I took some knocks, some KOs, then the Babe was likely to diminish the effect of those the KOs on the game, and it would bring the game down to skill and to how good the teams are relative to each other. So yeah, I like to label myself as a coach that tries to eliminate randomness rather than bash or non-bash or whatever.
Right, but that tends to kind of go better with the sort of bash strategy than with the agility strategy.
Yeah, bash is less random, right? Bash is mostly.
I mean, just the fact that most of your actions are 2 dice, and if they fail, you re-roll and you have 2 dice, as opposed to
That's 100% fair.
Agile teams where you have a lot of actions is 1 die, and if it fails, it's only 1 die to re-roll.
You say that, but you can play elves in that. You do, given the choice, you do want to try and get the 2D blocks before you do any dodges with elves anyway, right? So you can.
For sure.
But there are times when you have to hand off the ball and run, and if you fail just that, that's what happened to Andy against Stahlberg. he failed just a 1 in 36, and it was a critical failure, and then he would have tied the game had Stahlberg not chosen to, against any reason or good judgment, to hey, I'm going to try to win the game against Wood Elves. In this situation where they're all off the pitch, instead of taking the tie, he chose that he would have another miracle. But anyway, Andy failed. His only failing in that game was that he failed a 1 in 36. That was critical, and you don't really control that. So I'm completely with Danton. You roll 2 dice, you re-roll 2 dice, and those are most of your critical rolls in the game.
The only sort of counter argument I can think of is that, when things go wrong, agile teams tend to, have more resources to kind of to fight back, or to, they have more versatility, right? If a bash team screws up, then it's harder to recover from the screw up typically than for the agile team.
Agile teams have generally got more movement, which gets you out a lot of tight spaces, and generally can move the ball around more. More easily than an AG3 team, I would say.
Or just, it's not just moving the ball around, right? It's being able to generate like a ball sack opportunity, or find some, even rolling some, 3, 4, 5 pluses, which can be, obviously desperation type plays, but you're more likely to kind of do something with those desperation plays than a bash team.
Your description of Andy failing the 1 in 36 being key. If you force a bash team to make any kind of handoff play, then that's a 1 in 9 at the very best, right? That's where the lines between the two teams are, right? But we're generalizing. We're trying to put these teams into boxes, and they don't really work like that.
There's so many different builds as well. It depends on the development and everything.
No, for sure, but I think you can't generalize to a certain extent.
Right? Of course you can.
I do think at a certain level you're not a bash coach. Above a certain quality of coach, you are aware of the dice on both sides, and you're there is no difference. There is no line between bash and agile.
Wait.
Carmack has an Agi 4 2 heads ball carrier. That's making
obviously
35 dodges, and Andy's got a strength 4 frenzy war dancer with his elf team. That's clearly getting 2 dice blocks everywhere. It's the line is blurred.
For sure, the lines do get, especially. We're talking about high TV, right? More than anything else. With the higher the TV, the more the lines get blurred. But I was just going to say that, having played quite a bit of Blood Bowl up till now. Obviously I played even more Blood Bowl 1 than in Blood Bowl 2.
Mm-hmm.
I actually most kind of feel, I don't know about if it's feel comfortable, but the teams I find the most attractive are actually the hybrid teams, because of the there seems to be more decision making. You can blend more those different elements of the bash game and the agility game, and I don't know, they just seem to be kind of more entertaining to play than other teams that are a bit more one dimensional.
It's an argument that's going to go on forever, isn't it? Dreamland's again put some stuff in the chat there about certain teams. Are they AG? Are they hybrid? Are they bash? To me,
are hybrid. They're hybrid, but they're agile hybrid, as it were.
Skaven are basically as good and bad at everything as possible at the same time, right? The Gussarollas are some of the best Agi players. Yeah. The Storm Vermin are some of the best bash players, but the team will fall apart, and the thing that Carmack said about not liking Wood Elves running out of players, happens to Rats more than any other team, right? They just melt, and they don't fit into either category, in my opinion. Having recently lost a claw bombing Storm Vermin to retirement in UK BBL. I'm saddened for my lack of bashiness now.
Yeah, Dreamland says it's a spectrum. That's what I'm kind of getting at as well. Is I like Skaven to me are both hybrid and agile at the same time. That's a credit to someone at Games Workshop with the games design in terms of, well, especially, you know, some of the older rosters in terms of different teams having having their own identity and not just being kind of cookie cutter copies of others.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just adding to the variation. And again, I think that's why Blood Bowl is quite a popular game with us nerds because of the variation. You know, I mean, it's not rock paper scissors, is it? You know, it's kind of rock often, or scissors or the third one. You know what I mean?
Dreamland say,
Dreamland
except
is-
birds. Fuck birds. Dreamland, I just won I've got to tell Dreamland this. I won the Argentina League for the 6th time, but this time playing birds instead of orcs. And in the final, I faced an absolute murder chaos team, and in overtime, like way more killy than either Carmack's team or Stahlberg's. And in overtime, I had 15 birds, by the way, and they were left with 2 players in overtime because birds just roll.
Glorious. Again, Danton, when you do refer to your Argentinian league, I imagine it was, you know, with a bunch of 15-year-olds in some sort of college or school or something like that. That's what I think we all think when you talk about how you won it 6 times.
You know,
you're playing essentially children, but that's fine that you still bring it up.
There are some. Let's say it's a small league, but there are some good coaches. I mean, the final I played Toto Frias, who's he's played in Chalice quite a few times. You know, Saz has played a lot in that league. There are definitely some good coaches, but it's a small league. It's typically between 20 and 30 coaches.
Fine. Okay, great. Well, thank you for that insight, Carmack. I think that's been really useful.
I'm not a bash coach. I'm not.
And you're not a bash coach. Not deep down.
Dreamland taking a swipe at Argentina now.
Yeah, it's just horrible what this has become now. Right.